And welcome, everybody. I'm Robert Aducci, and I am here with Ulisses Spila, Ulisses International, and we're gonna go through some Fading Suns. We've been flipping through the Universe book, which was recently released to backers. So this is just a preview PDF. Things could change as well in here. And tomorrow we are going to be on Heretical Musings with Andrew Greenberg and Bill Bridges as they talk about the Fading Suns universe book. So, if you have some questions, as we're looking through here, if you have some questions, save them for tomorrow, or if you put them in the chat and I can't answer them, we might be able to get them answered tomorrow. So let's see. Last time, where did we stop? I think we stopped at. I've used this book since I can't remember. I'm thinking we stopped at society and the nobility, perhaps. So let's just go there, page 37, and we'll continue on. Let's see. So the nobles kind of the way that they took power throughout the ages of the empire is pretty interesting. It's definitely some cool backstory. This talks about sort of like what life is like as a noble in general, the kind of things that highlight noble life, like etiquette, courtly love, duels. So these are things you'll probably see in your games. Most games will probably have a noble. I really liked the hospitality, how each different house had different elements of hospitality. Talked about the entourage and how they come into play. Because again, the sort of default, player character group or troop is a noble and their entourage. It doesn't have to be that, of course, but that is sort of the default. It's kind of assumes that at least somebody is going to pick a noble, since there are, there are the kind of three main types of characters. You have your royalty, or your the nobles, the guild members, and then you have the church for the most part. And so it's assumed, though, that at least somebody's going to play a noble, in which case the rest of the people are probably their entourage. Or, I mean, there could be other troop types, but that's sort of the default. And then we get into individual houses. I like how it gives the basic information, then it gives like their primary worlds, their like role-playing notes, like what are these people like, a favorite calling for a house, and some stereotypes that gives like 3 different examples of stereotypes. Oh, I hope there's not weird static. I'm not seeing anything on my end here. Let me know if it doesn't clear up, Andrew. And then we get into Ducato, same thing over for each of these, but it really gives a great little overview for each of the houses. And this, all of these are just rife with little nuggets for you as a player to take and to kind of create a character out of, or as the game master to kind of create an adventure from, or whole campaigns. There's all kinds of little information, little bits and pieces here and there. They talk about rivalries with other houses, and kind of what's going on with the Pax Alexius now that the Emperor has joined up with, not joined up with, but now that some of the people from the barbarian lands are now in part of the empire. The Hazat, the Holland. I like the symbols that it has here too. They look cool. and they kind of come back into play later in the when we look at the map. Again, I like a lot of the art. It has very kind of religious overtones, which a lot of the church is an important part of the known worlds. And then it talks about the minor houses. The minor houses, these are just a small number of them. There are hundreds of them. So, a GM could use these, a player could use these also, but they're also sort of, just an example of what you can do if you want to create your own houses. You just need to write a paragraph and make it somehow different from others, give them something unique to do. And there you go. Then we get into the priesthood, those who pray. It talks about the Omega Gospels and what some of the teachings of the prophet had for people. Also talks about, I like how there's, one of the things I like about Fading Suns is that a lot of the groups, which in other role-playing games can seem like monolithic and just like this is the way this group is. A lot of the groups in Fading Suns are sort of broken up, and so there's a whole bunch of different orders within the church, and so they all have different views, and some of them kind of are don't like each other. Not very the eschatonic order is one of those sects that is kind of looked down upon by some of the others, and they each have their issues with each other, which is cool. But they each also have their own power bases and stuff too, so that's why they're kind of still around, which is interesting. Talks about church law, the sins of the church, petty sins, which is, I like that little section. Church polity, so like the different kind of different positions within the church, the patriarch and the matriarchs. The Senecula, it's kind of like the patriarch's right-hand person. Metropolitans, archbishops, and bishops. And then it talks about a little bit about the Inquisition. And then the major sects and orders. I like how the Brother Battle, they're very similar to kind of feeling to sort of like Templars, the Knights Templar. And so they're even getting into loaning money and things, which is gives some major NPCs for each sect, and again, they're kind of primary Cs, which is kind of like the places where they have power, the systems they have power in. Role playing notes, favored callings, which is will come up in the character book. Some stereotypes again. Going into the eschatonic orders. This seems like if I was going to play a member of the church, I would probably play an eschatonic because they're not exactly, there's a reason they are kind of seen as outsiders a lot. They kind of delve into knowledge that some members of the church deem heretical. They kind of like knowledge for knowledge's sake, just, no matter the knowledge, sort of, in some cases. And there's so it seems to be a pretty big, even within the eschatonics, there are sort of varying degrees of the things that are worth looking into or not. But I like how it's all sort of, everything is kind of shades of gray, which is cool. Sanctuary Aeon. This is what was a sort of different sect that I hadn't really, it doesn't, it's not obvious just on their name kind of what they are. Temple Vesti. The Vestites, that's a cool name, I think. And I like how all of these have like the church, and then they have like some other little symbol that sort of makes it a little bit different. I like how all their symbols are created. and then the Earth Orthodox, which is the primary sect of the church. And then just like the nobles, there's a bunch of minor houses. There's minor sects as well. I think we did talk about this because I remember talking about the chorale. It's interesting that there's sort of like a choir sect sort of. But it's interesting because this is like a chorale character might be a pursuer of lost hymns. That's just a cool idea. It's sort of like a bard. And then there's pagans. So like these are like different offshoots of the church that even though they follow the same teachings of the prophet, they're also sort of outside standard teachings. And then we get into the Merchant League, which is the sort of third pillar for the most part. The leagues are the ones that kind of deal with different aspects of trade and technology. Kind of talks about the different worlds and kind of how the leagues participate in sort of the power structures. I really like that golems. I like the idea that they call robots golems. That's pretty cool. And it talks about really like why, why don't they have a whole bunch of them? And the idea of, technology being troublesome is sort of all feeds into that, So some people use them, although they're kind of looked down upon. They are out there. So I like that, there can be super high technology, like wherever you want, but, most people, it seems like, try to get by with as little as they can, at least to still be in the good graces of the church. The guild safe houses, piracy within the guild stereotypes, and then we get into the major guilds. The charioteers are pilots, but they're more than pilots. They also manage the jump gate keys, which are extremely important. As I was kind of talking about last time, I like the idea that a lot of the keys are either destroyed or lost or they stop working, but also other people know how to create them in some instances. I like that some jump gates can be shut off, and if they're shut off, they're off from anywhere between 100 and a year and 100 years or something like that. And so it can vary. So even if you shut off your jump gate because you don't want to be messed with, it might come back on later, or maybe you'll never turn on, or the key was lost, and all of a sudden you find a key and you find a jump gate, and you can all of a sudden be in a world that no one's been in for hundreds or thousands of years, which is cool. So there's so much room for exploration and discovering new places, which is something I enjoy in role-playing games. Supreme Order of Engineers, I like them because they seem very secretive. Their job is technology, which is kind of looked down upon, but they seem to have like a lot of information that they're not giving up, which makes sense. Tech Redeemer, favorite calling. The musters, mostly mercenaries and laborers, but also smaller parts of the guild are slavers, which sounds like they kind of are looked down upon by the church and the emperor. The Reeves, they're sort of like lawyers, and I think they do money as well. Monopolies on lending. Scravers, I like that there's a whole guild for scavengers, but they're more than scavengers too. They kind of do a lot of the black market stuff, which is cool. Then we get into the minor guilds, and just like the noble houses, just like the sects, there can be an unlimited number of minor guilds. There's the apothecaries, the bureaucrats, carnivalers. The idea of like a space carnival, like that could totally be that could totally be a troop type. The courtesans, gourmands. There's always, I think we did talk about this one too last time. There's always, like in every game, someone's always dealing with like food. Like, oh, I want to be a chef, and part of their adventures is finding new recipes and ingredients and stuff. Weaponsmiths, word wrights, wranglers, animal wranglers. And then we get into the Phoenix Throne, the other estates. So how the emperor kind of rules and his family and how people see him and his wife and new daughter Aurora. The questing knights. The Imperial Eye. I like how it's sort of like, a little bit outside of the throne of itself. The Vote Scepters. This is a cool thing. So it says, so there are like a number of votes, a number of scepters that Vladimir had given to the royal houses to sort of figure out a succession when he didn't have an heir. And so these royal houses have the scepters and then they can vote. However, some of them are missing, which is cool. So it says there are 40 scepters. 40 scepters have disappeared. Or no, 5 of the original 40 scepters have disappeared. So there's, 35 scepters out there, and it says you have to have 23 in order to get a majority. But if another scepter came up, it would change the balance of power. So that's an adventure, at least an adventure right there. Like, is it a real scepter? Who had it? Why was it gone? Are you hired to steal it from somebody else? Or, perhaps it's rightfully your noble families or something like that. So yeah, there's a lot of room there for some political power plays that are cool. The Voldrak kind of starts talking about these new spacefaring nations. The Kurga Caliphate, which is another kind of enemy, although they are still people. The Lost Worlders, that's kind of what I was talking about before. So like where there's, just worlds that have been lost for hundreds or thousands of years, which is cool. Aliens. So aliens are kind of, it seems like there are not that many of them in the human world because humans have treated them so poorly in the past. But there are still a number of them, as you can see here. There's the Scorbites, Etri, Ganox, Hieronym, Orium, Shantors, and the Change. And it seems like Ganok and what were the other ones? The something or other. Why are they not here? I don't know. The Uruban and the Urkar. I'm not seeing them on here. But the rest kind of seem, somewhat minor. Here we go. The Uruban is here. They look pretty cool. The Urukar. I like the I like the aliens in this game. I'm excited to read the faction books for the aliens that have more information about them, or not faction books, whatever we're calling them. The Vorocs, these are cool. I like this picture. I don't think I'd seen this picture until I started scrolling through this. Very cool. I like how they like all of their feet are prehensile, and so it says they can run on run on all sixes or fours or two, which is cool. And then we get into the known worlds. So this talks about like how day side and night side. So how they refer to jumps like as day side and night side. Byzantium Secundus serves as the central star from which all roads radiate. Traveling away from the light of the Byzantium Secundus is traveling night side, while those traveling toward it are going day side. Similarly, any planet might talk with neighboring worlds that are day side or night side. And then how each, how kind of planet, how time works most, if they have technology, they'll have like a what is it called? A nuclear clock, so it'll be exact time. And then here is the jump web map, which is cool. Let's see. Let's get a view of that. We looked at this briefly because someone was asking about it last time, but we can look at the 2-page view here. So you can see the whole thing. Map by Stephen Brand, which looks very cool. It's a very clean, kind of use the background of the book, or of the covers, I should say, and then has just a very clean, sort of old feeling map. I would almost like I don't know, it'd probably be difficult, but I think a 3D map would be cool. I just like the idea of in space things are very 3-dimensional, where worlds are and stuff like that. Not that it really matters because all of these are jump webs, and so distances don't really matter, but I think it'd be cool. All right, let's go back to single page. And so then we get into the different worlds. So all of these symbols, kind of as we saw in the earlier sections, coincide usually with either a noble, a church sect, or a members of the guilds, or the Phoenix Throne. And then some of them, like the Vow, alien races have their own symbiotes. And so this talks about each of these worlds or systems. It just kind of gives, several paragraphs on each one. All filled with tons of lore and campaign ideas, adventure ideas. Talks how the jump gate works. Jump gate resetting. Keys. And an image of the jump gate. So that is that's our walkthrough of this. We've kind of went through the whole thing over these past two sessions. I think tomorrow we'll probably talk about mostly history and sort of the general society without probably, I don't know, we might, depending on how much we get into. I know Bill and Andrew could talk about this for days. And so, who knows? We could just get into the prehistory and the cataclysm years, and they could talk an hour for that. So we'll see how far we get into this tomorrow. But join us tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern time, as we talk about the Universe book. Also, join us in the Discord, the Ulisses Discord. There is a Fading Suns channel there. If you are, if you want to run some games, there's also a Looking for Game channel. If you want a player or a game master and you're looking for more players, post there. You can also, in the Fading Suns channel, go ahead and if you have questions for Bill and Andrew, and you're not going to be able to make it tomorrow, go ahead and put your questions there, and we'll be sure to try to get them answered. So I think that's going to be it for today. For Ulisses Spiele, Ulisses International, I'm Robert Aducci, and we will see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific.